In an effort to safeguard aquatic ecosystems and the creatures that inhabit them, prominent Canadian environmentalist Paul Watson founded the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society. Protecting others has been central to Watson's life since he was a little boy. He rose to prominence as an outspoken, controversial figure over the years. As an activist, he is primarily concerned with ending the commercial exploitation of endangered species, quelling the practice of illegal fishing, and protecting whales from harm. Many legal issues have befallen Watson as a result of his daring acts, such as sinking whale ships' gear and halting illegal hunts, in which he frequently confronts governments and large corporations. He has received both admiration and fierce opposition for his steadfast dedication to environmental protection, despite the fact that he has been the target of criticism. Thanks to Watson's efforts, many more people are aware of the need of marine conservation, and a new wave of activists is concerned about the ocean's fate. Paul Watson is well known for his tireless advocacy on behalf of environmental causes, particularly those pertaining to whales. Watson came into this world in 1950 in Canada. His mother passed away when he was a little boy, and his father abused him. He had a difficult childhood. Despite these challenges, he exhibited a profound affinity for creatures at a tender age. Tragically, his childhood best friend, Bucky, a wild beaver, died in an animal trap when he was quite young. This loss sparked a lifetime dedication to animal rights in Watson, who went on to destroy forest traps. At the age of 11, Watson witnessed firsthand the brutality of a seal hunt. Because of this experience, he no longer felt comfortable with the idea of exploiting animals for financial gain. At the age of 16, he absconded from his family and traveled to Vancouver, where he encountered like-minded environmentalists. At the age of 19, Watson began to oppose nuclear testing on the wildlife refuge of Antarctica Island in Alaska. He was among those who opposed the testing of a nuclear bomb in 1970. Despite their inability to directly halt the test, the media coverage the movement received ultimately persuaded the United States government to end all nuclear testing. Greenpeace was Watson's 1971 affiliation. The purpose of forming this organization was to oppose nuclear testing. The organization evolved from its humble beginnings as the Don't Make a Wave Committee into the prominent global environmental NGO that remains today. Learning that hunting endangered whales piqued Watson's interest in the creatures after scientist Paul Sponge discovered that whales were intelligent and compassionate. He became an integral part of Greenpeace's campaign to save whales. This is the impetus behind the 1975 Save the Whale campaign by Greenpeace. Because of his stance against hunting, Paul Watson was involved in several high-profile protests that took place in the 1970s. It was common for him to engage in confrontations with whalers and go after them directly. In 1979, more than 25,000 whales were killed when Watson's ship, the Sea Shepherd, collided with the notorious whaling ship Sierra. He became famous for this performance. The damage Watson and his crew inflicted on the Sierra halted further hunting, but he was apprehended by the Portuguese Navy. A few months later, Watson's colleagues sank the Sierra in an effort to put an end to whale slaughter. Criticism of Watson's work was so severe that he was dubbed an eco-pirate and eco-terrorist by some. Aiming to rescue whales and other marine animals remained steadfast in his mind. Many people believe that Watson shaped modern ecology through his efforts to preserve the environment. He was also an important figure in the global movement to end whaling. The battles Watson has fought against whales are not his only claim to fame. The Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, an organization dedicated to the preservation of marine life and the environment, was also co-founded by him. He has been an environmental activist by being willing to do dangerous and even unlawful things to protect the planet. Environmental activists all over the world are still moved by Watson's love of sea life and unwavering dedication to environmental justice. Significant changes occurred in Paul Watson's life following a terrifying encounter with a whale. While standing near a wounded whale, Watson heard the sound of a harpoon being shot. He was startled by the tremendous roar, which he described as the loudest sound he had ever heard. While it dove under, Watson peered into the whale's eyes and saw an acute comprehension of the situation. While in agony, the whale could have attacked Watson and his crew, but instead it refrained. It was profoundly impactful on Watson. Watson realized his purpose in life at that moment, to protect marine animals like whales. A video of the incident shot by Greenpeace went viral, exposing the world to the atrocity of whale slaughter. In later years, Watson learned that the whales were being slaughtered for their spermaceti oil, a component in nuclear weapons capable of penetrating other continents. Killing innocent sentient creatures for the purpose of creating nuclear weapons shocked him. His resolve to save these creatures was further strengthened by this new knowledge. To put an end to the slaughter of numerous young seals for their fur, Watson and Greenpeace traveled to Newfoundland, Canada in 1976. Watson and his cohort physically halted the seal hunters despite the high risk involved. The hunters once tried to drown Watson and brutally assaulted him. After this incident, Watson became more aggressive and stole a gun from a hunter, among other things. His involvement changed as a result. When Watson shifted his focus from peaceful to violent tactics, Greenpeace expelled him in 1977. Sea Shepherd was born out of his original organization, Earth Force. Unlike Greenpeace, which merely monitors illegal activities, Sea Shepherd actually works to put a stop to them. Sea Shepherd would sometimes intentionally collide with whaling ships in an effort to halt the slaughter of whales. Notable acts such as the destruction of whale processing plants and the sinking of hunting ships continued Watson's work. He secretly visited a food processing plant in Siberia in 1981 to document their use of illegally harvested whale meat in animal feed, which was one of his most courageous acts to that point. He risked his life by fleeing from the Soviet Union's secret police and navy in order to speak the truth. Significant changes, such as the 1986 halt to commercial whaling, were brought about by Watson's efforts. Japan and Iceland, among others, persisted in the practice while claiming to be conducting scientific research. In 1986, Watson sabotaged Iceland's whale hunting operations because he was angry that humans were still killing whales. As a result, the sector suffered a $2 million 0 cents loss. Watson persisted in his mission despite widespread disapproval and media portrayals of him as a terrorist. By the time Watson turned himself in to the Icelandic authorities in 1988, he had already become a global celebrity thanks to his efforts to rescue whales. Time magazine recognized his efforts and included him in their list of the top 20 environmental champions in the year 2000. Paul Watson continued his campaign after being expelled from Iceland. He now focuses on assisting South American nations in protecting marine species that are near extinction. In the early 2000s, he campaigned in Costa Rica against shark hunting. According to their claims, he nearly went to jail for intentionally damaging the captain of a Costa Rican shark hunting vessel by crashing his ship into it. Watson, however, was acquitted of the charges after a video crew on board recorded the incident. Watson shifted his focus to Japanese whale shooters who were responsible for the highest global whale mortality rate. In 2005, Watson attacked 2 Japanese ships. In 2006, he sent 2 ships to the Antarctic Ross Sea. There used to be a plethora of whales in that region, but human activity, particularly hunting, has led to a steady decline in their numbers. Under the guise of research, Japanese factory ships such as the Nishin Maru and whale ships armed with explosive harpoons continued to operate, despite the fact that they were not conducting any actual research. In order to put an end to the carnage, Watson's squad utilized smoke bombs and innocuous cylinders of butyric acid. Fighting broke out frequently between Japanese whalers and sea shepherds throughout the killing season, December-March. Whale Wars, a program airing on the National Geographic Channel from 2008 to 2015, featured the work of the sea shepherd. Because of this, Watson gained more fame. The number of whales killed by Japanese whalers was cut in half as a result of these efforts by Sea Shepherd, which made it harder for them to achieve their hunting goals. In order to amplify their efforts, Sea Shepherd purchased the Adi-Gil, the fastest skiff in the world. Using it, they engaged the Japanese whale ships head-on. The Adi-Gil was shattered in half when the Japanese ship Shonan Maru II collided with it during a brawl in 2010. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but the ship went down shortly after being pulled. An American court referred to Sea Shepherd as a band of pirates and ordered Paul Watson to stay 500 meters away from Japanese whaling ships after the incident, which led to Japan issuing an arrest warrant for Watson. After his arrest and subsequent release on bail in Germany, Watson fled the country in 2012 to avoid extradition to Japan, but he kept at it and eventually it paid off. As an example, by 2022, the population of western southern Atlantic whales had increased from nearly extinct to more than 25,000. After Japan requested that Interpol issue a red notice for Watson, his whereabouts remained unknown despite these victories. This notice was issued for an environmental fighter for the first time, making it a historic event. In 2022, Watson sought asylum in France following the confiscation of his Canadian passport and the subsequent notification that he would be returned to Japan. For 15 months, he hid out in international waters off the coast of the southern Pacific Ocean. He was dissatisfied with Sea Shepherd's decision to refrain from aggressive action, as stated in his resignation letter from 2013. Following this, he continued his efforts to end Japan's killing spree by establishing the Captain Paul Watson Foundation. The situation for Watson deteriorated further in 2024 when he was apprehended in Greenland in 2024 in violation of an Interpol red notice that was 12 years old. Protests erupted in every corner of the globe upon his arrest. Watson was released from prison after 5 months when Denmark declined to return him to Japan. Watson is unwavering in her efforts to safeguard marine life and in her warnings about the rate at which human activity is degrading Earth's ecosystems. Industrial fishing is ruining the seafood industry, in his opinion, and he thinks people need to start thinking differently about environmental damage. In his efforts to bring attention to the severity of the ecological catastrophe, Watson claims that we are really fighting a war against ourselves. An individual can have a positive impact on the world. Paul Watson is living proof of this. By himself, he prevented the deaths of thousands of marine mammals. His deeds demonstrate how a single individual can make a profound difference. Watson is still going strong at the age of 74. In June of 2025, he plans to launch yet another initiative to protect whales. The fact that he never stops working proves that one can stand up for justice no matter their age. If you would like to lend your support to Sea Shepherd's new organization, you can find their social media accounts and links to them down below. The determination of Watson inspires many because it demonstrates that a single individual can rescue a whole species. So glad you stopped by.